Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 185. Without any delay, start explanation. In his heart, Tang Wulin was feeling a little uncertain. Old Tang asked with a deep voice, "If I were to give you another chance, would you still choose to do it again?" Tang Wulin shook his head. "No, I'd certainly do it better next time. I've already got a feel for some of Long Yu's skills." When he was focusing all his efforts to launch his abilities, it seemed like he had trouble controlling his emotions. That's an opportunity that I can take advantage of. Although I may not triumph over him, at least I won't lose so badly. Old Tang's voice was heard again, but this time, it was gentler. "Seems to me like your courage mounts as the battle progresses." Heh. Tang Wulin chuckled. "Haven't I been like that all this time? Since you say I'm still alive, when can I return?" Old Tang spoke. "Of course you're still alive. You can return when your body has healed sufficiently. Moreover, as long as I'm alive, you can't die as well." "Oh?" Tang Wulin was confused by Old Tang's statement. However, he immediately recalled Old Tang's assistance in the past when he encountered immense danger while he was breaking the Golden Dragon King seal. "Old Tang, how is that you actually exist within my body? You seem to have a thorough understanding of everything. It's as though you're omniscient," Tang Wulin asked curiously. Old Tang spoke flatly, "I'm but a wisp of spiritual consciousness. You'll naturally understand when it's time to understand. When you're powerful enough to protect yourself, all traces of my spirit will vanish. How about your real body? Who are you, actually?" Tang Wulin inquired intently. Old Tang was quiet. "I'll tell you when I'm about to leave." Tang Wulin was baffled for a moment. "So why can't you tell me now?" Old Tang smiled. "Silly little child. Everyone has his own life. If I were to tell you what's going to happen in your life, including your encounters and everything that happened around you, wouldn't I be giving you spoilers of your future? In that case, is there anything else that is exciting in your life anymore? You're actually already doing well now. You have a positive attitude, and with that comes your hardworking nature. I'm satisfied with your performance. I only hope to see you grow up healthily and happily. Then, bring these memories to a place far away." Tang Wulin spoke in astonishment. "What do you mean, to a place far away?" Old Tang was quiet. His emotions suddenly became slightly depressed. Tang Wulin could even sense the sorrow in his aura. "Old Tang, what's wrong? Don't be sad." "I won't ask any more," Tang Wulin hastily added. Old Tang shook his head gently. "I'm fine." "All right, since you're going to be here for a while, don't waste the opportunity any longer. Your foundation is already built rather impressive now. I'm going to teach you something. There's one skill from the Tang Sect technique which you've learned that can be adjusted. I'm going to help you to adjust it a little. We'll begin with the Mysterious Heaven method first." Tang Wulin's Mysterious Heaven method was learned from the precious recordings in addition to Wu Zhangkong's guidance. He could not help feeling surprised upon learning that Old Tang wished to guide him on the Mysterious Heaven method. Is Old Tang skilled in the Mysterious Heaven method as well? Tang Wulin suddenly sensed some changes in his body. He lowered his head subconsciously to take a look, only to find veins of his meridians emerging on his body. Every single one of his meridian veins were glowing and appeared unusually obvious. Old Tang allowed him to sit down cross-legged before speaking with a deep voice. "Your overall cultivation is correct, but there's more to the Mysterious Heaven method's excellent uses than what you've comprehended. You can begin trying out some things after your foundation is firm. You can draw support from its blood essence power the next time you have achieved your breakthrough to the Golden Dragon King seal, and attempt to open up your 8 extraordinary meridians. It's extremely dangerous to open up your 8 extraordinary meridians. That's why it's not recorded in Tang Sect's Mysterious Heaven method precious recordings. With your firm and tensile meridians in addition to your body's excellent foundation, you can start attempting it now. Next, remember the details of the 8 extraordinary meridians. Don't miss anything out or make mistakes on that part." 8 extraordinary meridians? Tang Wulin's spirit was refreshed when brand new knowledge was revealed to him. He began listening to old Tang's explanation in all apparent seriousness. This brat has already used up my third tub of liquid medicine. He's actually capable of absorbing it at such a speed. Is his body a bottomless pit? Mu Yi put his hands on his hips as he stood in the bathroom, truly feeling a slight gloom. Tang Wulin had already been soaking in the liquid medicine in the bathtub for 5 days and 5 nights. Tang Wulin's body was like a gigantic sponge that continuously absorbed the energy within the liquid medicine. A tub of murky liquid medicine would gradually turn clear after soaking him for more than a day's time. Tang Wulin's aura had also turned from its initial weakness, gradually becoming denser and heavier. Although it was apparent that his life was no longer in danger any longer, he had yet to wake up. His entire person still remained in a deep sleep. In order to ensure that Tang Wulin was not in danger, Mu Yi changed the liquid medicine for another 2 times. The liquid medicine was extremely precious, and it took him great effort to acquire these. However, he could only grit his teeth and continued what he was doing to save Tang Wulin. The blood essence in Tang Wulin's body was gradually growing exuberant. His bones and meridians were healing at an extremely fast speed. Mu Yi had already realized that his bones were healed when he examined Tang Wulin's body after the first time he used the liquid medicine. It was extremely miraculous. What kind of self-healing was this? His body was deformed after he was stamped by Long Yu at the time, yet surprisingly, he was capable of healing so quickly. Aside from still being unable to regain consciousness, his vital signs were already no different from when it was under normal circumstances. It was only that he could not tell how long it would be before the young lad would completely regain consciousness. Before that happened, he was still not completely out of danger. However, it was a fortune within a misfortune that his brain remained unharmed during that fateful day. Today was the Continental Young High-Ranking Soul Masters Elite Competition's dual match grand finale. It was not out of the expectation that the final champion was from Long Yu and Dai Yuna's team. Long Yu's powerful performance during the individual match terrified his opponents who were lined up to fight him. Shrek Academy's team chose to give up the match, so it was almost an easy advance for him during the final stage of the competition. He received the laurel crown in the end. The runner-up was Dai Yu Yang and Su Mu's team. Monster Academy took the top 2 spots for the match. If it was not due to Hua Lantang and Yi Ji, who were eliminated by Tang Wulin and Ji Yu Yu during the elimination round, the first 3 places would belong to Monster Academy. In the Grand Star Luo Hotel, during dinner. Let's participate in the group matches finale. Ji Yu Yu placed her eating utensils down and spoke with a deep voice. Everyone's gaze was focused on her instantly. Ji Yu Yu continued in a deep voice, "Wulin isn't here. I'll be the captain. If he's still with us, he'll definitely never give the upcoming matches up. We shall seek back what we've lost earlier and use our victories from the matches to welcome his return. Are all of you willing to do it with me?" Ever since Tang Wulin was brought away by Mu Yi, the atmosphere during meal times became especially depressing because they were missing that captain who could eat more than everybody else alone. Even Shu Lishi was eating lesser than usual. Tang Wulin had never returned since the incident, and they did not even know if the captain was still alive. The Star Luo Empire's government had called in many forces for the search, and yet, Tang Wulin's whereabouts continued to evade their watchful eyes all along. Elder Cai and Wu Zhongkong had been working together in the search with the Star Luo Empire government. They had even called in the Tang sect's forces in Star Luo City. However, it was as if Tang Wulin had vanished into thin air without leaving any traces behind. They could not but feel like their hearts were wavering. Was the captain already? There was only Ji Yu Yu that firmly believed Tang Wulin was still alive all along, that he was still alive for sure. "Yes," Yi Xinglan replied. "I'll join in to avenge the captain." Xie Xie's eyes were slightly reddened. His tightly fisted hands pressed onto the table. Yuan and Yehui spoke indifferently, "I'll join." Shu Lishi spoke, "I'll be making meat buns for all of you." Yu Zhenyu and Xu Xiaoyan gazed into the eyes of one another before nodding firmly at the same time. It was as if there were 7 flames burning around the round table. Everyone's aura was becoming more exuberant in an obvious manner. For Shrek's honor. For Tang Wulin. They were going to participate in the group match. They would wait for their captain's return as they participated in the competition. No, all of you aren't allowed to participate, an icy cold voice echoed from nearby at this moment. It was Wu Zhongkong. He walked in great strides and stood next to the table. Wulin's whereabouts is already unknown. I can't allow all of you to risk your lives again. Don't participate in the matches afterward. I've already discussed this matter with Elder CAI. I'll be bringing all of you to tour the Star Luo continent for a period of time before our return to the Doluo continent. Gu raised her head and looked at him. She spoke coldly, Teacher Wu, since the Academy didn't interfere and intervene with us since the earlier matches, I hope that the Academy will act as such and not intervene with us in the following matches as well. Wu Zhongkong frowned. I'm very sorry about the incident that happened during the individual match. However, I can't allow all of you to risk your lives again. Gu spoke coldly, whatever Tang Wulin can do, we can do as well. Not only for the Academy, but for him. Wu Zhongkong spoke with a deep voice, this is the Academy's order. A field commander must decide even against the king's orders. Moreover, we have already participated in the earlier rounds and entered the final stage without any problems. Gu refused to give in at all. Wu Zhongkong was about to respond when Gu suddenly stood up. She turned around and walked toward the outside. Wu Zhongkong suddenly sensed a gush of exuberant spiritual energy bursting out from Gu's body just as she stood up. Even with a cultivation base like his, Wu Zhongkong's upper body could not help swaying. As Gu walked out in great strides, Wu Zhongkong looked at her in astonishment. Could her spiritual power be that formidable? Teacher Wu, we wish to participate in the match. Yuan and Yehui also stood up and spoke in a calm yet determined tone. The rest of them rose one after another and followed behind Gu as they left. The Academy did not provide any guidance to them during the individual competition. How could they not feel aggrieved in their hearts when Tang Wulin was severely injured and then disappeared in the end? They wished to vent the frustration they felt over the past few days with a fight. They wanted to use their own action to wait for the captain's return. Shrek Academy's 7 students announced that they would participate in the follow-up final stage of the group match. When the news broke out, it caused a great uproar in Star Luo City. After the individual match's profoundly disturbing scene, the 2-on-2 category became much less interesting without the participation of Shrek Academy's students. The common people had also gradually calmed down after Long Yu's victory. On the contrary, they were anticipating the arrival of this exciting match. Shrek Academy did not disappoint them when they announced that the students were participating in the following group match. The group match would be an all-round confrontation for all of them. Of course, Monster Academy had a very high chance of winning, but winning the group match would only reveal that Monster Academy was even more powerful than Shrek Academy. After the group category entered its final stage, the system would be slightly changed. It was no longer the standard 7-on-7 battle, but it included a few rounds of matches in order to reveal the group's power in an all-round manner. There would be 3 matches of 1-on-1, 1 match of 2-on-2 in addition to 1 match of 7-on-7. Every contesting group member was allowed to join repeatedly in each different type of match. In other words, a contestant that had participated in the 1-on-1 match would still be allowed to join the 2-on-2 match and group match again. Every 1-on-1 match scored 1 point, 2 points for the 2-on-2 match and 4 points for the 7-on-7 match. When all the matches were completed, whichever group had accumulated the most points would successfully proceed to the next round. There were only 16 groups that managed to enter the final stage of the group category. Thus, the first round of battles would determine the final 8. A group would need to win 4 rounds in a row to become the champions. Among the general public in the Star Luo Empire, there was no doubt that the final victory would still go to Monster Academy. Never mind the rest of their team, Long Yu alone was the champion of 1-on-1 and 2-on-2 matches. He was capable of taking 3 points in the earlier matches by himself, in addition to entering the group match. With him as the Monster Academy's backbone, it was almost impossible for them to be defeated. In fact, he would only need to choose to participate in either one one-on-one match or two-on-two match in order to guarantee the group's eventual victory. 7 out of the 8 Heavenly Kings were one-word battle armor masters. Having such overall power ensured that it was impossible for them to fail in the competition. The group match was different from the individual match. A single mistake in the individual match could cause one's total failure. However, the margin for error in the group match was comparatively higher with the group members' cooperation. Thus, no one felt that Shrek Academy had the possibility to turn the tables in this group match. However, some of the slightly more sensible among the Star Luo Empire's common people still expressed appreciation for Shrek Academy's decision to continue participating in the contest. After all, this would allow them to witness even more exciting matches. Despite knowing that the odds were against them, these youths, who were only 15 years old, were courageous enough to bear the pressure of almost every common people in the Star Luo Empire and compete in the tournament. The organizer had already made some arrangements during the round-robin tournament. Thus, as the competition entered its final stage, Monster Academy and Shrek Academy would only face each other at the finale, provided that both sides continued being victorious. In the Star Luo Coliseum. Dear audiences and friends, hello and welcome. I'm Fanger and it is my pleasure to continue my commentary for this year's Continental Young High-Ranking Soul Masters Elite competition for everyone. I believe that everyone is already aware of Shrek Academy's representative team's decision to continue participating in the final stage of the group category. Later on, they'll be appearing in the first round of the final stage. Ever since the individual category, where Shrek Academy's representative team's captain Tang Wulin was severely injured and disappeared, the team faded out of our sight for a week. I wonder about their return this time. What sort of excitement will they bring us in the group category? At the same time, I hope that the contestant Tang Wulin can get well soon. Fanger still had a very good impression of Tang Wulin. He was just a 15-year-old youth, yet his performance in such a competition was impressive. It was already a rather difficult task for him to fight his way into the finale match. Moreover, the opponent was still Long Yu. Tang Wulin was even at an advantage with his strength during the fight with Long Yu. This showed that his performance was admirable. When Long Yu lost control of his emotions in the end and almost directly killed Tang Wulin, this made Fanger feel very regretful in her heart. As a commentator who was passionate about martial souls, she very much wished to see what Tang Wulin would become when he had grown up in the future very much. She wanted to see how powerful that miraculous bloodline power of his could end up. Of course, it was impossible for her to express this idea of hers. After all, she was representing her own country. She had already gone to the waiting area to take a look earlier. Tang Wulin was not there. Right? It was difficult to tell if Tang Wulin could even live with such severe injuries. How could he possibly continue to compete anymore? Shrek Academy's representative team today was an army burning with righteous indignation. How were they going to display their fighting capabilities in the match? On the audience platform, Dai Qianling personally attended to watch today's match. He would never have come if Shrek Academy had not continued to participate in the competition. He wished to see the performance of Shrek Academy's representative team in the group category. There was a total of 8 matches to be carried out. It was the day with the most group matches. Shrek Academy's representative team was arranged to appear in the second match, while Monster Academy was appearing in the 7th match, so they would not show up in the morning. It was their turn to compete only in the afternoon. Sitting in the waiting area, Gu was staring at the empty seat by her side. The seat belonged to Tang Wulin. It was still there, but its owner's whereabouts were unknown. Wulin, let us use our victories to welcome your return. Just as Fanger had predicted, Shrek Academy's representative team now was an army burning with righteous indignation. The reason for their participation was not only for Shrek Academy but even more for their missing captain. They were representing Shrek's moral integrity. They wished to show all of the Star Luo Empire's people that they were never fearful. In the waiting area, the rest of the teams waiting to participate in the competition would occasionally look toward the Shrek Squadron's side. They sensed that the 7 from Shrek Academy were akin to volcanoes that could erupt at any moment. They sat there, but they did not speak or move. Their eyes stayed closed like statues. The first round of matches ended after 40 minutes. The accumulated points came to 6 against 3, and one of the groups advanced to the next stage. The following match would pit Shrek Academy's representative team against Sky Academy's. Will the contestants from both teams of the first round of one-on-one matches please enter the competition arena? It was apparent that Shrek Academy had already made their choice earlier. Yi Xinglan, who was sitting in the middle seat, opened her eyes, stood up and walked in great strides toward the competition stage. Everybody else opened their eyes as well. Yi Xinglan was like a long, sharp blade. Among the members of Shrek Academy's team, she had not left a deep impression in the minds of the Star Luo Empire's common people because she had not participated in the final stage of the individual category. She, Ji Yu, Xu Lixi and Xu Xiaoyan received less attention compared to everybody else. A tall youth with a large physique walked out from Sky Academy's side. Shrek Academy is sending out the contestant Yi Xinglan. She reached the final 64 in the individual category earlier, but she backed out from the final rounds for some undisclosed reason. Sky Academy is sending out their captain Xu Shuhang. The contestant Xu Shuhang gave an outstanding performance in this year's competition. With his impressive abilities, he managed to reach the final 16 in the individual category. We're anticipating an exciting match. Xu Shuhang had been observing Shrek Academy's team the whole time, even before the group category matches began. However, the opponent he faced now was not the target of his attention. He had actually paid more attention to Yuan and Yehui and Yu Jingyu. There was no doubt that they were the stronger fighters in the individual category. Even though Yu Jingyu had not reached the finals, he had been defeated by Long Yu himself. His holy angel martial soul left quite a profound impression on the others. Yuan and Yehui, in turn, had even advanced to the final 8 but was later eliminated after she withdrew from her fight against Tang Wulin. In everyone's eyes, Yuan and Yehui was the strongest contestant from Shrek Academy's representative team, besides Tang Wulin. Thus, Xu Shuhang first heaved a sigh of relief when he realized that his opponent was not Yuan and Yehui, then he felt a little astonished. Could it be that Shrek Academy's side did not fully understand the group category? Were they unaware that the first round was very important? If they could achieve victory in the first match, then it would do a lot to motivate their companions, which was a great advantage in the later rounds. He did not care anymore. He would need to win this match whatever the case. He did not expect that the troop he led from Sky Academy would triumph over Shrek Academy's team, but it would be highly beneficial for his future development if he could achieve even just one victory. At least he could brag about how he defeated Shrek Academy's side. The group category's rules were not that different from that of the individual competition. The judge did not speak much before he announced the start of the match. Yi Xinglan took small steps as she swiftly dashed toward Xu Shuhang. Xu Shuhang too released his martial soul immediately, along with his battle armor as well. Naturally, his power had to be impressive for him to have advanced to the final 16 of the individual category. He was a rank 52 Soul King and a one-word battle armor master. He was the greatest genius Sky Academy had produced in centuries. Within the academy, he was peerless. Pieces of silvery white battle armor flew out and quickly attached to his body. Xu Shuhang was very smart. After he found out that they were fighting against Shrek Academy's team today, he had his companions watch almost all the match recordings related to Shrek Academy. Thus, they had a well-researched and detailed study on their opponents. He discovered that Shrek Academy's team members were very skilled in seizing opportunities. Despite not having a single one-word battle armor master on their team, they somehow managed to defeat numerous one-word battle armor masters that they had come up against. Hence, he took the initiative to release his one-word battle armor at the beginning of the match without even the slightest hesitation. His various abilities would be greatly enhanced by the one-word battle armor's augmentation. The silvery white battle armor could not be described as pleasing to the eye, but Xu Shuhang's aura was elevated vastly after it encased his entire body. A silvery white warhammer appeared in his right hand. This was his martial soul, the soul-devouring hammer. The soul-devouring hammer was a tool soul. He was an assault-type battle soul king. The most distinguishing feature of his martial soul was that it was capable of devouring soul power. It was capable of sustaining powerful attacks while simultaneously draining the opponent's strength. This meant he was actually the most skilled in his group. The amplification and dampening effect of the soul-devouring hammer was usually very effective in a combat team. Most of the opponents were not used to this method, and he could take advantage of that. While he was releasing his battle armor and martial soul, 2 yellow and 3 purple soul rings arose. He did not attack initially but instead chose to wait for his opponent to exhaust herself. He had rich tactical experience as well as he waited for Yi Xinglan to enter his range, upon which he would instantly launch his soul-devouring hammer soul skill. The soul-devouring hammer was even more powerful with the battle armor's amplification. He believed that he could easily defeat the opponent with just the soul-devouring hammer's ability to devour soul power. However, was it going to play out like that? Yi Xinglan's gaze was burning as she stared at him. 4 purple soul rings arose from underneath her feet as the Star God sword appeared. When the 2 fighters were about 50 meters apart, the first soul ring on her body suddenly began to glow. A speckle of starlight suddenly glowed. Xu Shuhang could only see as the speckle of starlight suddenly enlarged in his pupils from afar. The distance between both opponents almost instantly vanished. When seen from the audience's perspective, Yi Xinglan approached Xu Shuhang until she was about 50 meters away when she suddenly transformed into a phantom sword that vanished in a flash immediately and appeared before Xu Shuhang in the next moment. Xu Shuhang was not in a rush or a panic. He raised the soul-devouring hammer in his right hand as his first soul ring glowed. A yellow soul ring was released from the soul-devouring hammer. It was the soul-devouring soul ring. Anything that was enshrouded by this soul ring would have its soul power continuously drained by the soul-devouring hammer. The speed of devouring and absorption would be directly related to the disparity between both parties' power. Ding! With the amplification of the battle armor, Xu Shuhang had the speed he required. The soul-devouring hammer blocked the Star God sword's frontal attack at just the right time. However, it was during the split second when he blocked Yi Xinglan's Star God sword that he suddenly saw speckles of starlight burst out from Yi Xinglan. The starlight first appeared on her chest, then it shimmered around her entire body. The glittering sparkles gathered together and formed a giant, star-shaped sword on her back and emitted an aura that was incomparably sharp in that split second. A layer of golden battle armor covered Yi Xinglan's body instantly. In the blink of an eye, the consciousness of the Star God sword in her hand had almost reached its peak. Boom! Xu Shuhang had exhausted the soul-devouring hammer's power in his hand, yet it was as if the sword's consciousness had covered his entire body. He was blasted away by the impact immediately. Battle armor. A complete set of one-word battle armor. Fang commentated in a high-pitched voice. There was no doubt that the tone of her voice was not raised due to Xu Shuhang's one-word battle armor but Yi Xinglan's. Yes. All this while, Yi Xinglan, who had only been missing the core component, had finally completed a full set of battle armor. It was done in the previous week, after Tang Wulin's disappearance, and through a great deal of pressure. At long last, she succeeded under the constant provocation of her incomparable thirst for power. It was never troublesome to put on one-word battle armor made of spirit alloy. At present, Yi Xinglan's entire body was covered in faint golden battle armor. Most of her armor had a fish-scale pattern. It was not especially complicated, but it exuded a sharp sensation. A sword-shaped ornament was positioned in the center of her golden headband. There were no ornate patterns on her body's battle armor, just faint speckles of starlight. The armor's color was quite similar to Tang Wulin's because all of it had been forged using the same star silver. The core cuirass on her chest was in the shape of a reversed sword bolted with 13 pieces of sword-shaped metal. The core circuit was placed right on top of these 13 metal pieces. Every part of this battle armor, down to the smallest piece of metal, was filled with an incomparable sharpness. The aura that burst out from it even made the arena's soul barrier tremble. The soul-devouring hammer was extraordinary, but there were limits to its instant devouring ability. He would certainly be incapable of resisting the Star God sword's blow even with his one-word battle armor support. Both were similarly one-word battle armor masters, yet one-word battle armor forged from spirit alloy was already equipped with some features of two-word battle armor which evened up the disparity between two parties' soul power, tactical experience, and ability, as well as the strength of their martial souls. How could Xu Shuhang possibly compare to Yi Xinglan? Strands of cutting energy bloomed like flowers. The magnificent starlight was akin to water droplets on the blossoms that enshrouded Xu Shuhang's body instantly. Streams of piercing radiance rippled and spread out from Xu Shuhang's body. He was bombarded by the razor-sharp light to such an extent that he had no chance to recover or launch a soul skill. Those streams of sword energy continuously tore at his battle armor. Despite his battle armor's defense, which caused his soul power to drop immensely, the sharp aura still suffocated him. At the very next moment, starlight shimmered as Yi Xinglan suddenly vanished into thin air. An additional dazzling star was seen in the sky, its starlight illuminating not only the competition stage but the entire Star Luo Colosseum. The intense life-or-death crisis compelled Xu Shuhang into shouting aloud without the slightest hesitation, "I accept my defeat." Then, starlight shone down from the sky and its brightness gradually dimmed. It was then that Yi Xinglan appeared out of thin air, standing in mid-air 3 meters off the ground. She gently tossed the star-god sword in her hand as it rippled with starlight. Her ghastly cold stare only swept past Xu Shuhang once before she took a step forward and landed on the ground. At present, one could see through the soul screen soon that there were already countless scratches crisscrossing Xu Shuhang's battle armor. Although his battle armor was not completely damaged due to his powerful defense, it would still cost him quite some time to restore it to its previous condition. As Xu Shuhang struggled to stand up from the ground, his eyes were filled with fear. How could the disparity between the both of them be that great when they were both similar one-word battle armor masters? It was obvious that his cultivation base was higher than hers. Yet, he somehow felt like he would not even stand a chance if he were to go against Yi Xinglan. The audiences were all stirred up. This was the first time they had ever witnessed the appearance of a one-word battle armor master in Shrek Academy squad, what more one that appeared along with such an intense battle. Fanga had already introduced Xu Shuhang as Sky Academy's captain, but to everyone's surprise, it was also this exact captain who did not even stand a chance when he took Yi Xinglan on in combat. The match had only lasted for about a dozen seconds before it decisively ended. More than anything else, the audience only saw starlight covering the entire battleground. Fanga took a deep breath before making a concluding commentary for the match. "This is an utter victory where one dominated the other. I didn't expect that the most powerful person from Shrek Academy wouldn't be the captain, Tang Wulin, but instead, it's the contestant Yi Xinglan. She was also equipped with her one-word battle armor that made her so suffocatingly powerful in combat." She spoke the words from the bottom of her heart, as she had never expected that Yi Xinglan would actually be so unbelievably powerful to such an extent. As Yi Xinglan floated away from the stage and scored the first point for her group, the second person from Shrek Academy's bench simultaneously stood up. It was Yu Zhengyu. His expression appeared slightly somber as he strode forward to the competition stage. On the other hand, Sky Academy's team sank into a momentary pause. They had lost. Their captain had lost so easily, and he was the strongest person from Sky Academy, the captain Xu Shuhang. They had a total of 2 one-word battle armor masters, but the next battle armor master was not as powerful as Xu Shuhang. What would they do for the second match? Yu Jingyu spread the wings behind his back and lifted himself up into the air before he landed on the stage. As one of the few assault-type soul masters from the Shrek Squadron, this was still his first time on the competition stage after he was severely injured in his defeat against Long Yu. However, many people still remembered the match between him and Long Yu. He was the first person compelled Long Yu into using his martial soul. Although Yu Jigyu lost the match, he was still one who was capable of withstanding Long Yu's for such a long period of time. This fact alone was already a testament to his true power. The members stood gazing at one another for a moment while before Sky Academy finally sent out a representative. It was a young maiden that was not a one-word battle armor master. However, she was definitely the prettiest member from Sky Academy. Their goal was simple: since they had already planned to give up on this competition, they would reserve the other one-word battle armor master for the third individual match. They still had a gleam of hope as long as they could win the third match to fight in the group match finals. Naturally, despite having this plan, their ray of hope still seemed rather glum. They had actually known about their impending loss in today's match when they saw Yi Xinglan's one-word battle armor. The female Soul Master got onto the stage and cracked into a smile with great effort as she stood face to face with the handsome Yu Jingyu. Yu Jingyu still had a tender heart for pretty girls. He launched his Saint Sword and allowed the female Soul Master to remain standing for a total of 1 minute. 2-0. Yuan Yehui was the third contestant. In all honesty, the Sky Academy students had already lost all hope when they saw her standing up to walk onto the competition stage. She was someone who managed to defeat a one-word battle armor master. Meanwhile, Sky Academy's other one-word battle armor master was actually much more inferior to Xu Shuhang. The result was clear as day. In the 2-against-2 match, Xie Xie and Xu Xiaoyan ascended the stage. Although they were definitely not the strongest ones amongst Shrek Academy's teams of duos, they were similarly capable of taking on all the suspense in the competition with their high speed and assault-based skills. In reality, all the following matches for Sky Academy were just for show, especially after they had lost all 3 individual matches. The group match was not carried out in the end due to the results being 5-0. Shrek Academy's group successfully entered the final 8 with absolute dominance. After the competition ended, the group of students from Shrek did not have the slightest intention to stay at all. They stood up in succession and returned to the hotel. If Shrek Academy's overall power could not be seen during the individual matches, then today's group match for Shrek Academy's group definitely revealed what power they had in store for the rest. They had almost managed to achieve victory with utter, unwavering dominance in almost every match with Sky Academy's group that had similarly entered the final 16 with them. It was as if Tang Wulin's absence had not influenced their match at all. They had proven themselves as a Shrek Academy team. The news about Shrek's team competing once again, revealing their impressive powers in the process, immediately spread through the entire Star Luo Empire. Soon, it became a major issue that was discussed around every street corner and alley, especially those in Star Luo City. The Shrek Academy is participating in the group match. Moreover, their performance was rather powerful. That Yi Xinglan's one-word battle armor is very powerful indeed, Dai Yuyang told Long Yu. Long Yu's expression was very indifferent. So what? Dai Yuyang cracked into a faint smile. So what? Shrek Academy's position remains the same. They would not stand a chance in the group match as long as Long Yu was here. Brother Long, you alright? Dai Yuyang asked softly. Long Yu's emotion had seemed slightly stirred ever since his battle with Tang Wulin that day. It seemed as if his entire person had become much quieter than before. Long Yu shook his head. I'm fine. Alright, you should get some rest as well to prepare for tomorrow afternoon's match. Sure. Dai Yuyang had never been arrogant in front of Long Yu despite being the 4th prince. Long Yu could not help frowning after Dai Yuyang left. He was not concerned about the competition. Naturally, he had never doubted his own power. He was greatly provoked after the match with Tang Wulin the other day. Tang Wulin was not the problem, he was. No matter how powerful the strength he possessed was, it would be useless if he could not control it, even if he grew more powerful. He was incapable of controlling his strength when he was fighting Tang Wulin the other day. In the split second where he had almost killed Tang Wulin, the emotions contained within him was only filled with an insuppressible violence. This was definitely not a good sign. The problem was already appearing with increasing frequency as he grew stronger. This was also the reason why he refused to devote all his effort in fighting a battle. However, as such a powerful soul master, he naturally wished that he could devote all his effort into expressing his skills. Otherwise, how could he ever train his actual combat capabilities? How could he ever advance himself one step further? He had been exercising restraint over his emotional changes with great effort for the past few days. Teacher Enci had only looked for him once as well. He was going to enter closed-door cultivation after the match. It was not to elevate his physical power but instead, it was to elevate his spiritual power as much as possible. It was difficult for him to change his situation by controlling his body, so the only way was to elevate his spiritual power and use it to suppress his bloodline's restlessness when he was enraged. Only then it could possibly be effective in controlling his combat capabilities. He had been doing this all along throughout the years but to no avail. The Mountain Dragon King made one's body powerful as it bestowed natural talent to its bearer. However, its effects on one's spiritual improvement were much to be desired. The only effect Long Yu managed to get was something quite ordinary despite seeking various methods, including the consumption of heaven and earth treasures along with profound cultivation methods. This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.